Hello everyone, this is Reverend Andrew MacDonald from First Presbyterian Church, New Glasgow, coming to you with my midweek message for April 22nd, 2021. This past week we were faced with some very public grief. The passing and the funeral of His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, the longest-serving royal consort, 69 years as consort to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, as well as 73 years married to Her Majesty. For many, Prince Philip has been a fixture in the public life. His service and dedication to the Crown, his country, and the Commonwealth should be recognized, and he will be missed by many. During the funeral, which was televised, the Queen looked frail, but was the model of dignity as she said goodbye to her best friend and strongest supporter. To see Her Majesty sitting alone, it really pulled at the heartstrings of many, and we could feel her grief. But she remained strong and poised. Also this past Sunday at 3 o'clock, the province of Nova Scotia stopped to hold a 2-minute silence in remembrance of the 22 individuals who lost their lives in Canada's worst mass shooting in our country's history. 1 year after this tragedy, and the wounds and the hurt are just as fresh. It was so wonderful, however, that Nova Scotians came together to pay tribute and honor their memories. I've heard that at 3 o'clock, during the 2 minutes of silence, even cars driving on the highway pulled over in quiet tribute. Since the start of this pandemic, there has been such a mixture of emotions, from anger to fear, to depression and grief. There have been moments of reprieve, but they have been few and far in between. Life has surely changed, and I hope, but I'm not sure, if we will ever go back to the way things were. It seems that fear and grief have become the norm. So many people need help and support, emotionally and physically. As C.S. Lewis points out, there's a direct closeness or relationship between fear and grief. In the opening pages of his book, A Grief Observed, he writes, "No one ever told me that grief felt so like fear. I'm not afraid, but the sensation is like being afraid. The same fluttering in the stomach, the same restlessness, the yawning. I keep on swallowing." Grief may manifest in many ways, but it is closely linked to fear, anxiety, and depression. Until you've experienced it firsthand, it's hard to explain or understand. Being sad and low is one thing, but grief is on a whole nother level. You might feel that while you are in your grief, that you are in a deep, dark pit. You can see the light off in the distance, but you feel you will never get there. It becomes worse if you give in to the despair and anxiety. Johnny Cash, a great man of faith, once gave his thoughts on grief and loss and coming out on the other end. He said, "There's no way around grief and loss. You can dodge all you want, but sooner or later you just have to go into it, through it, and hopefully come out on the other side. The world you find there will never be the same as the world you left." In other words, the world you know and the world you will emerge into will not be the same. Your world has been forever changed. It is a fact that we have to work through, accept or adapt to, and we need to continue to move forward. If we dwell on our grief, it will consume us, and you will never escape it. But when you recognize your grief, learn to live through it and beyond it, then the real healing can begin. The world will not always be all doom and gloom. There are bound to be low times as well as high times. The lows help us appreciate the good times even more. The world will not always be a source of despair or sadness. We have been promised that it will change. God will not allow us to suffer forever. Good times are on the way. My absolute favorite biblical passage refers to this. I find it to be an immense comfort in times of trial and grief. It is from the book of Revelation, chapter 21. It talks about the end times, but it reveals how life will be when God will save us and will come to dwell with us. God will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will no longer be any death. There will no longer be any mourning or crying or pain. Wouldn't that be something to really look forward to? Let us keep that image in our mind as we face the uncertain reality, but not be consumed by our grief. The world may be changed, but it will still be there and offer so much to live for. We just have to remember that. So, until we can be together again, remember, be good to one another, care for one another, comfort one another, and always remember to love one another. And may God continue to bless you and those you love, now and forever. And all God's people say, Amen.